But now, as I said, the big development this moment is that the vice president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, has just appeared on camera for the first time and said she's in charge, flanked by military officials and other power brokers in Venezuela, calling Maduro's capture a kidnapping, demanding his immediate release, and saying that Venezuela will not be a colony of the United States. A defiant move, given that Trump has said his team's running the country and that she's doing everything they want.
We have a major breaking news update in the ongoing story of Donald Trump's unilateral and unconstitutional regime change war in Venezuela. And that update is this. Mere hours after both Trump and Marco Rubio publicly boasted that the new interim leader of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro's vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, would simply roll over for Trump and do whatever Trump ordered her to do, serving as Trump's puppet. Well, now she is publicly giving Trump the finger and humiliating him and defying him, suggesting that Venezuela will not cooperate the way that Trump says, which means the odds of Trump using military intervention again, potentially even invading and occupying Venezuela with American soldiers, American boots on the ground, the odds of that have radically increased. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, to unpack this, I got to start with reminding you about what Trump said just a few hours ago about Venezuela's interim leader.
Weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship going?
I understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Weren't going to back Machado.
So he says whatever we think is necessary, she's just going to do what she's told. And then he doubled down on it later in the same press conference, and he used even more degrading language to describe the nature of their dynamic.
Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military troops to provide?
Team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, you know, let it go to hell.
So he says she doesn't have a choice, and again insists that she'll just serve as a puppet and do whatever she is told. Then, of course, the other shoe dropped, right? So as OSINT and Spectator has reported on Twitter, and it's been corroborated by multiple sources, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez addresses the nation, calls for Nicolas Maduro's release, and says the country will never be a colony of any nation, according to Reuters. All right. And so with that in mind, I want to play you this clip, which goes into a bit more detail, and we'll look at some additional reporting.
Coverage and developments are moving very quickly at this moment out of Venezuela. The vice president there just speaking out and taking control, thumbing the nose at President Trump after he announced the capture of President Nicolas Maduro by U.S. military forces overnight, posting this image of Maduro on the USS Iwo Jima. The Venezuelan leader and his wife are now on their way back to New York to face drug and weapons charges in a U.S. court, apparently in the Southern District.